Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at this picture. It's the water cycle. Sounds complicated? Don't worry. We're going to start super simple and build it up, step by step. First, let's just name what we see. I'll say a simple sentence, and you just repeat after me. I see the sun. I see a cloud. I see a mountain. I see an ocean. The sun is shining. Water is falling. A river is flowing. Okay, now let's connect these ideas. Where does the water go up? The water goes up from the ocean, where the sun heats it. Where does the water form clouds? It forms clouds in the sky, where the air is cold. When does the water fall down? The water falls down as rain, when the cloud is heavy. Where does the rain go? Some rain goes into the ground, where it becomes groundwater. Now, let's make it sound even better. Let's describe how these things happen. The sun heats the water slowly. Slowly describes how it heats. The water vapor rises upwards. Upwards describes the direction. The cold air cools the vapor quickly. The water eventually falls back to earth. Eventually means after some time, it finally happens. It's a great word. The river flows steadily back to the ocean. Steadily means in a constant, reliable way. Okay, you are doing so well. Now let's tell the whole story. The whole process begins over the ocean, where the sun shines brightly. The sun's heat causes the water to evaporate, which means it turns into a gas. This gas, which we call water vapor, rises upwards into the atmosphere. When it gets high enough, it cools down and condenses, forming clouds eventually. Finally, the water falls as precipitation, which includes rain and snow. Some water then runs over the land, where it collects in rivers that transport it. Other water seeps into the ground, where it is stored as groundwater. Slowly and steadily, all the water finds its way back to the ocean, where the cycle starts all over again. Let's look at the key words. Repeat after me. Transport, transport. Condensation, condensation. Temperature, temperature. Transportation, transportation. Evaporation, evaporation. Snowmelt runoff, snowmelt runoff. Surface runoff, surface runoff. Precipitation, precipitation. Infiltration, infiltration. Groundwater, groundwater. I will ask a question, leave a pause for you to think or answer, and then I will give you the correct answer. What is happening to the water in the ocean and the lake? The water is evaporating. The sun heats the water, and it turns into vapor and rises into the sky. Look at the water vapor rising. What happens when it goes high into the sky where the temperature is cold? The vapor cools down and forms clouds. This process is called condensation. The clouds get heavy. What happens next? What is the word for when water falls from the clouds? That's right, it's precipitation. This can be rain, snow, or hail. Now, the precipitation hits the ground. What are the two main things that can happen to it? First, it can flow over the land. This is called surface runoff. You can see it flowing into the river. In the mountains, the snow melts. What is this called? This is snowmelt runoff. It also flows into streams and rivers. What is the second thing that can happen to the water on the ground? It can sink into the ground. This process is called infiltration. The water goes down to become groundwater. Finally, how does the water get back to the ocean? The rivers transport the water. They carry it back to the ocean and the lake. And then the cycle starts all over again. Fantastic. Now, let's put it all together. I will describe the entire water cycle. After each sentence, I want you to repeat after me. It will help your fluency and pronunciation. The sun causes water to evaporate from the ocean. The water vapor rises and condenses to form clouds. The clouds produce precipitation, like rain or snow. Some water infiltrates the ground, becoming groundwater. Other water becomes surface runoff or snowmelt runoff. Rivers transport the water back to the ocean. Let's master the key terminology. Liquid water evaporates into vapor due to solar energy. Condensation occurs when water vapor cools and turns back into tiny liquid droplets. Precipitation, such as rain or snow, falls when these droplets become too heavy. Infiltration is the process of water seeping down through the soil. This stored water underground is known as groundwater. Surface runoff is water that flows over the land, eventually reaching rivers and lakes. In spring, snowmelt runoff from the mountains can cause rivers to swell. Rivers effectively transport water over long distances back to the oceans. Now let's explore the relationships between these terms. I will ask a more complex question. What initiates the entire water cycle, and what is the specific name for this first stage? The sun provides the thermal energy that initiates the cycle by causing evaporation from bodies of water like oceans and lakes. The diagram shows arrows going up from the ground to the clouds. What is happening to the water vapor as it rises, and what is the result of this process? As the water vapor rises, it encounters cooler temperatures in the atmosphere, leading to condensation, which forms clouds. When precipitation reaches the ground, its path diverges. Can you describe the two primary paths it can take and the key difference between them? Absolutely. One path is infiltration, where water percolates downward into the soil to recharge the groundwater supply. The other path is runoff, either as surface runoff flowing directly over the land or snowmelt runoff from melting snow, which collects in channels and streams. How is the water that has collected in rivers and streams ultimately returned to the starting point, and what would happen if this part of the cycle stopped? The water is transported by rivers and streams back to the oceans. If this process stopped, the water cycle would be interrupted, leading to an imbalance where oceans would not receive freshwater return, and the system would eventually fail. Now, let's weave all these elements into a coherent, scientific description. I will narrate the entire water cycle in one fluid paragraph. The eternal journey of water begins with the powerful sun. Solar radiation heats the surface of oceans, lakes, and rivers, causing the water to evaporate and transform into an invisible gas called water vapor. This warm, moist air rises upward into the cooler layers of the atmosphere. As it rises, the temperature drops, triggering the process of condensation, where the vapor condenses into countless tiny droplets that collectively form clouds. These droplets collide and coalesce, growing until they become heavy enough to fall back to Earth as precipitation, which includes rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Upon reaching the ground, a portion of this precipitation infiltrates the soil, percolating downward to become vital groundwater. The remainder flows as surface runoff or, in colder regions, is stored as snow until warmer temperatures create snowmelt runoff. Both runoff and groundwater eventually find their way into streams and rivers, which transport the water over vast distances, finally returning it to the oceans, where the magnificent cycle begins anew.